Hey guys, just got done here at our locals for our Dragon Ball Super tournament, and I am going to be doing a profile with the person who won our locals, who went 3-0 with a very powerful deck that has not seen play for quite some time, but he's bringing it back, and let's get right to the deck profile. We have Dane here.
Is Dane. I'm part of North Star Ball, the Joe crew. Got a lot of stuff going on, but basically, I won today's local, went 3-0. We're kind of in that good but not the best decks section of post-Nats syndrome, right? But there are still competitive matches here, so I'll go over real quick the deck, and then I'll talk about matchups and how I did. So I played Invoker. It's been a little while since the leader's really seen a ton of play. Like, Legends and Sublit have always been pretty good, but right, realistically, outside of those two, not a lot of people are performing with this deck. So real quick, right, if anyone doesn't know, one activate battle, you can pitch an extra card, get 5k, draw a card, add up to a card from your life, and then negate that skill for the battle, so you can do it once per battle, basically. And then Surge Awaken, 1 red, 1 blue underneath, restand 1, draw 3. So basically a 1-in-1 leader. On the backside, at 5 life, you can either pick up 3 cards, which is actually a lot better than a lot of people think. I feel like everyone always goes for the draw a card, rip a card, but getting back extra resources really helps you last in some of the grindier games, especially if you know that their deck doesn't necessarily have as many answers to your win conditions. And then, of course, right, you can always just look in their hand and rip anything that isn't a unison or a secret rare. So, very powerful leader, been around for a long time. So, some recent hits to the deck definitely changed the way it was played.
So, question for you is, would you consider this a rogue pick at this time?
Yeah, Rogue is probably accurate. It's a very powerful deck. I don't think anyone would ever tell you it's a bad deck. It's just not that great, right? There are going to be a lot of issues with trying to win with it, and some of the matchups in the current meta, right? If you're playing against like Gogeta and they stick the little Gokus, that's too much. You know, some hand control is a little bit tough, and then of course Icarus is a very powerful deck all the time.
All right.
So first and foremost, 3 Tournament of Power Arena. This is the lifeblood of the deck, makes your stuff come in unrested, right? And of course, you get to top 3. Basically, look at the top 3, reorder them, and either put them on the top or the bottom all at once. So, really just helps you get your draw engine online with the cards we're about to go into, and honestly, just helps you cycle through the deck. You will find whatever card you're looking for. Mulligan for this, by the way, if you don't know how to play the deck, hard mull. You just throw back 6 if you don't have this card. And then this is really where the deck comes all together, is going to be these extra cards. So Invoker basically lets you play these really high cost cards for cheap if you have the right cards in play. And so it's about abusing these cards, both their activate main skill to basically warp them from your drop area after you've discarded to draw a card, or rather check the top card if it's there, right? Or just abuse their individual skills. Royal Condemnation is now better than ever with how many cards are coming in to reduce or remove cards ignoring barrier. You just go, okay, Royal, and then it doesn't come in. Emperor's Death Beam, getting rid of cards like Slug is very crucial. It's a battle trick to make sure that you don't die from like opponents that dump when they shouldn't be. Explosive Demon Wave is counters are broken. This is a counter. Yeah, it's only on battle cards, but like then you can just kind of play for it. And a lot of the best floodgates are battle cards, right? So like you negate topos when you go in with your 6 drops, you negate riposts, you just kind of like abuse it to do whatever. And it's just now you have more. You used to only have 12 because 4. Now you get to run realistically 13. You could run more if you wanted to. 2 cat blows. You should still run this card. It still says burn you for 1 or 2 if you have the guy out. And so it's just a really powerful card. They all have the same activate main, so. Some of the other blue-yellow cards, Sleepy Boy. 2 is very good. Honestly, this card is like just 3 really powerful effects, right? Negating attacks, drawing cards, and bouncing stuff. The bounce is sometimes good, sometimes not, right? You don't want to like bounce back cantrips and stuff, but sometimes they don't really have anything else, so you might just do that just to slow down their tempo or force them to use energy if they want to draw cards again. But the draw 2 is super relevant. You could run a 3rd, but probably just 2 is fine. 1 Tyranny's cost. This card should probably be at 2. You draw 2, and then if your opponent has 11 or more, they shuffle down to 10. Against Icarus today, I resolved this, and I made them shuffle 5 cards in, and so it's like, this was a +6 the one time I resolved it, so it was just really powerful, and so just a good card. Combination attack, another battle trick, costs effectively 1 all the time or 0, and so it's one that you can actually use while you don't really have Invoker up pretty easily. Instinctive Reprisal, remove little stuff, and then like honestly at like 3 for 1s, you can stop, make 2 things -10 and then negate an attack, so 2 energy to get rid of 3 attacks is really powerful. And lastly, we're in this together. Just honestly, the board wipe is kind of irrelevant in the current meta, but it could come up. And then realistically, it's just like pay 1 red to keep adding it back to your hand so you can gain an advantage more by just pitching it over and over again. Onto some of the battle cards. 3 Vegeta. I kind of wish this card was at 4. I find myself playing it more now that we're back on kind of a more defensive strategy rather than an instant kill with the cat blow, so we have to kind of like make sure that we're living to turn 5 and sometimes 6 rather than just always 5. So very good card though, right? Just a bunch of keywords on it: deflect, barrier, invoker. That's all it's there for. 2, 2, and 4. Rival Seeker, right? You get to draw 2 cards is the cost of adding them back to your hand. It's a 3 cost. It's a 0-10k most of the time. It comes down on 5. You just, so good, man. It gives you all the combo power that you need to like survive hits too, and when you're going for the push. Energy Explosion, I still think you should be running like 2 of it because you can turn this guy into a quad strike, or you could be like, your opponent could be at 5. And then hit them for 4, they go, okay, that's fine, and then you just cat blow, and that's the last life. Or just like, honestly, long game, right? If you hold on to the 2 cat blows long enough, you can just go like, all right, turn 5, I'll burn you for 1, and then I'm going to pass with like 2 D magics, Violent Raise, something in hand, to protect yourself. Very powerful. You can just keep the advantage going, and then this guy is the addition, right? After the cat blow change, you really need to basically go in and be able to keep attacking. So you'll swing in, it's like deflect, crazy triple strike, and then you'll restand it by getting rid of 2 cards. Restand it, getting rid of 2 cards, and it's like 35 over and over again. I continually swing like 5-6 times plus, and like when your opponent's leader is -10 and you're 35, they can only get out of like 2 of those attacks even without any combos. So it becomes very powerful, and honestly, it's so strong. You have to use your leader skill to check your opponent's hand to make sure that you're not, getting got. Final Flash is a very important card, as would be like Heroine's Lineage, Primal Carnage, lots of different cards that are like going to be able to kill stuff mid-battle. So you got to make sure to take them out. Also, you should really like play both of them. You should plan on turn 5 to play this, and then play a copy of this off of Rival Seeker too. Support cards for Beerus. I'm sorry, I only have 3 SPRs. I'm working on it. I actually have the 4th one at home in like a collection binder, but it's not playing. So basically though, you restand a multicolor energy on your opponent's turn as a super combo. It's a 0-10. It's a Universe 7, so in a pickle you could like play it to put your leader's draw and look skill on online. It's just very good. Honestly, it gets charged like once a game because your red-blue count, you really want to just ditch all your extra cards. So just good card. You could run Zeno, but I think Beerus is slightly better still because of the red-blue skill. 4 Sensu Bean, 4 Sensu Bean, 4 D Magic. I think these are pretty self-explanatory. Blue likes to restand energy. Sensu Bean, like your leader, because you can get your ditch, you can basically go to 20k just with 1 Sensu Bean on your front side, so you don't even have to flip over. It's actually insane how many turns you can survive just like sitting on your front side if you're smart about it. And then D Magic, right, especially if you have like Invoker up, D Magic represents like, okay, I'll take a life and then I'll put 2 more big impactful cards online. And then some more random extra cards, 2 Violent Raise. This could go between Violent Raise and Topo. I like Violent Raise because it prevents unison swings too. Obviously Topo does that, but Topo has so many counterplays, and all the aggressive decks are now starting to mainboard, like Super Kamehameha, Tyrannical Blow, right? They have all these answers for like your Topos and stuff, so just using Violent Rays to buy yourself turns is really good, and it's an extra card you can pitch off your leader skill if you just needed to like cycle or whatever, or it's just not good in a matchup. Totally fine. Honestly, just a very good card.
And a lot of red players would play Violent Rays because Dark Brawly was in the scene. So what decks do you think it's good for now?
So honestly, if you ever had to play the mirror match for some reason, it'd be great for that, right?
Right.
I mean, right? If you hold on to 2 of these, there's only so much they can do. And then, like, I used it against Gohan Icarus today to prevent the Trunks from swinging in, because I can interact with all their battle cards really easily, and I can't really interact with their leader or their unison, so I had to prevent those from attacking. And so, like, you can really mess up their turns by, like, if they miss sequence at all. Likewise, just sometimes 20k battle cards, right? If you're playing against, like, Gogeta, seeing this for, like, turn 2 if they go first is probably going to save you the game. You can prevent the thwartings and the 20k from swinging in. One strategy is Universe 7. If you don't kill your opponent with like the burn strategy, this is a great way to keep it. Or like I said, right, you can do the 2-turn burn strat where they're at 4, and then you're like, all right, I'll burn you for 2 once, and then strats use 7, protect it, give it barrier, right? They might not have the resources to remove it if they've been aggroing you down the whole time. And then it gives it barrier. You could also give barrier that, like, right, this guy. If you look in your opponent's hand and they have like Heroine's Lineage, but they also have like a Floodgate, you might have to pick the Floodgate and then go, all right, I'm going to give my dude barrier, so now you can't take it with Heroines, or interact with it with other random cards that could minus it or what have you.
Do you think one of these was fine for the deck that you see?
Yeah, I didn't even activate it today, but I don't think I would take it out because I know that there are a lot of matchups where it'd be very important to get through. One Beerus Ball. It's mostly just for Frieza. You'll always look in their hand, but Frieza is a card that they're probably going to have 2 copies of, and so you can rip one, but that doesn't really do a lot. Or this, or so like you might have to rip like Dormant or Bupo or Homicidal Clones. Whatever reason is, you have to be able to Beerus Ball. Just one of. I could run it. I could see it at 2, like, right, especially in the sideboard. If I played a best of 3 today, we would probably play 1 or 2 in the sideboard. Or honestly, I might just side both copies. But just 1 today felt really good. I was able to use it when I needed it. So, like I said, you'll see every card in your deck. And then 1 Victory Strike. Unfortunately, this deck is a little bit gate-kept as a cost because of this card, right? I think even now it's still $600 or $700, and that's like when the deck is, you know, not seeing any sort of real competitive play. But realistically, right, when you're at turn 5, you can just turn off all your opponent's skills and win the game. So, of which, right, today I played against Videl round 1. I'm not really sure what that deck is supposed to do in terms of being good, right? I've heard that people can like win locals and stuff with it, but when I was playing against it and with it earlier today, because I built it the other day, it just seemed like 10k weenie deck, and like the weenies weren't that good. So honestly, it was a little bit grindy because he had a lot of options, but eventually I was just like, every Sensu Bean just buys a turn when the biggest attacks they put out are 15Ks. So you just put a Sensu Bean on your leader and you're like, all right, got any answers? No. You know, and you stick a Vegeta, really powerful. Round 2 was probably the hardest one, would have been Gohan Icarus. That deck has a lot of different answers to your various cards, right? They can make stuff come in rest mode. They have cooler counter, which is very scary. They can like pan to steal your cards if you don't kill them. They can put out Slug. That card was really powerful, but I went first, thankfully, and I just paid 3 outright Emperor's Death Beam to kill it, so I could start picking cards out of my deck with my drop area effects. Very close games with Anthony. We both talked about it afterwards. There were a lot of misplays on both of our parts. We really felt like that could have been a lot cleaner, but that was his first time really playing the deck, and I haven't played Invoker in quite some time, honestly, but especially this version, it was brand new to me, really. And then round 3 was TN, hand control, kind of. And realistically, I just kind of went through, and it was a really powerful deck, right? There are a lot of great options that it has, and it can kind of control my hand at the beginning of the game. But if I just negate the triple striker Goku, and then go in, eventually that was like the only matchup that I could really victory strike or afford to victory strike. So I just go in, I look at his hand, I count for 95 combo power, between that and his board, and I'm like, all right, well, I've got 105, so I'll just dump. Here's 105. That was the end of the game, right? His Victory Strike turns off super combos, it turns off everything else. He did have a Cells Kamehameha, which helped with the combo power, but it didn't really matter because at that point I was already done comboing, so we couldn't pick anything of value. So that was it. 3-0 with Invoker. Love this deck. Its Surge Leaders are super cool, and I wish that Bandai would give more support to them, but I totally understand that this deck used to be especially frustrating to fight against with all the cap flow stuff. But I still think it's very fair, right? If you can play around it, you can win. So yeah, that should be most of my story.
All right. Thank you, sir.